That morning, Richard and his family got the shock of their lives when they woke up and found bulldozers parked before their house. The minute he saw the bulldozers and the men wearing reflective jackets, he knew at once that they were there to demolish the house. Confused, Richard picked up his phone and called his landlord, demanding to know what the hell was going on. Like, there was no way they could demolish the house. He had kids, he had a wife. Were they all going to sleep on the streets? The landlord was apologetic, but he said that it was beyond his power. The government had given an order and he was powerless against it. There was literally nothing he could do about it. The government was demolishing the house. These past few weeks, social media had been agog with news of demolitions, and it never crossed his mind that him, a tenant, would also be a victim. Then just then, the supervisor of the entire project used a gramophone to make an announcement. He said that they had less than 15 minutes to get out of the house because the demolition was about to begin. Frantically and in panic, Richard gathered his wife and his kids and took them out to safety. He then ran back in, grabbing as many essential things as he could. With only seconds to spare, he got out of the house just before the bulldozer started taking it apart. As he watched the building fall, Richard felt his heart break into tiny pieces. While it wasn't technically his house, everything he owned was there, and now he was going to start from scratch. How the hell was that even possible? But then, as the bulldozers kept tearing the house apart, Richard paused. He looked around him. They were surrounded by other residents of the area. You see, he lived in a residential neighborhood, and his house wasn't under any power line. It wasn't built next to a canal or even close to a major road. When he looked at his house and his immediate neighbors, it looked as if his house had been singled out for destruction. Just then, Richard felt his heart sink. The government had no legal basis for the demolition. Immediately, he ran to the supervisor. Then he demanded that the man stop at once. He asked for proof that the government had sent them to demolish the house. The supervisor looked at him as if he was joking. Like, what did he mean by proof? The supervisor told him that he had been hired by a private individual to demolish the house. The government had nothing to do with it. Richard felt his heart sink to his stomach. Had his landlord lied to him? Was all this actually done on purpose? With his entire body trembling, Richard called his landlord once again. He told him exactly what the supervisor had said, and in that moment, knowing that he could no longer lie, the landlord finally confessed. He had actually sold the property to someone who wanted to build something else on the land. He had not mentioned anything about it to Richard because, well, he was just a tenant. And they also didn't bother to give him a quit notice because the new owner was impatient and he wanted to start work on the house immediately. The landlord offered to pay back what was left of his rent, but by then, Richard could barely hear anything again. There was a faint ringing in his ears. His knees wobbled underneath him as it dropped to the ground. This was a stark reminder of how powerless a tenant could be in the face of brutal urban development.